Manoj ko.
Hello, hello, Adab, Namaste. I'm Manoj Singh. I'm the Festival Director of the DC South Asian Film Festival and a member of Coalition of South Asian Film Festival. Welcome everyone for the question and answer session for the movie you just watched. Meet you there. Let me introduce the team of the movie. First, I'm going to introduce the director, Iram Parveen Bilal. She's a writer, director, has made many movies. Hi, Iram. She's a graduate of Caltech, and then she pursued her passion and got a degree in films from the University of Southern California. Welcome, Iram. Now I'm going to introduce she's a multi-talented writer, director. Now I'm going to introduce an actor, the lead role actor, Faran Tahir. You must have seen him in many movies and serials here in USA. He's well known as Raza in Iron Man and Robo in Star Trek. And also he was in Grey's Anatomy. Welcome, Faran. Really nice to see you.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate that and looking forward to this.
Yeah, and the next, I'm going to introduce to you another lead actor in this movie, Nikita Tewani. Her name is Dua in this film. She's an actor, and she's also has a drama degree from New York University of Tisch School of the Arts. Welcome, Nikita.
Hi, thank you.
So let's start. I wanted to first, when I watched this movie, I could feel it underneath my skin because we are living this life here in USA. I feel so connected. There's so many challenges, and it was like a Rubik's Cube with so many things happening. There's a love for your daughter, there's passion, there is expectations from your father and from grandfather, and there's love, there's sort of family issues, and here we are living a patriotism to your department, and I have two-part questions. One is for Parveen, that from the script perspective, how you came about, writing this script and how long it took you. And then the second part is for Faran, that you have to deal with all this as an actor. You're dealing with these challenges and how you, sort of internalized this script.
So Parveen is my mom's name, but I'm Iram. Thank you so much, everybody, for having us. Manoj, it's an interesting question you asked, because I think that the reason the film has so many layers is because it was in development for a while. And it was very personal. I think the very first draft of it actually was written in film school. And it was right after 9/11. And then I put it away, because I wasn't sure at that point how good of a writer I was going to be, or if anybody would care, just self-doubt that we all go through. And then I remember being at an event and seeing like a very orthodox Muslim with a beard and a topi, namaski topi, and he was wearing a cop uniform. And it just really triggered in me because, the Patriot Act it was really at the top of the news at that point. And I was just very curious on what sort of a conflict, he goes through. And then I put it away. And so the script kept getting into all these labs, Mahindra, Sundance, and then, Film Independent here. But I was not ready yet. And then the crux of the Islam and dance, that's a very personal journey, because my sister who taught me how to dance actually thinks dancing is sinful now. She's a born again Muslim. So there was so much that I wanted to say. And in some ways, I'm self-critical, and I feel like we were trying to do too much in this film, but that's probably why I think there's so much in it. And now, given the re-uprising of BLM and the police brutality angle, there's a whole new level of relevance again with the film. So that's really why I think there's so much in it, is because it comes from an authentic place, and it's taken a while to get there. And so there are a lot of things in it for that reason. But, I just thought Faran would be able to handle it. So I threw it off at him.
Faran, when you first read the script, what was your thought and how you wanted to connect with this character?
Well, I mean, first of all, from an actor's perspective, if something is well written, half of your job is done. All you need to do is step aside and just tell the story. So that's the first thing that attracted me to this, because it was well written, it had many layers, and it had layers that you could find. And some people will pick up on some layers, others will pick up on other layers, but our job is to bring as much of a palette to the character so that people can see all of the colors when they want to see them. As far as personally, I identify with it because I am one of those people who has lived in both countries, who has experienced life on both sides, hands-on. So given that, I think this idea of people like us who are orbiting around two different suns all the time, who are having this issue of what is your real identity? Because for myself, I've lived in the US longer than I ever lived in Pakistan. So who am I really? So that's the other thing. And the last thing I will say, the conflict, besides anything else, because I could always find some parallels in my life. I'm not a cop, I'm not in Chicago, all of that, but there are parallels that I could identify with in my life, and I could bring those feelings or those regrets or those moments of joy and happiness to this, because I have gone through that. And that's the thing. I think one of the things that sometimes we are asked this question is that, hey, do you like Pakistan better, or US better, or India better, or US better, or wherever you come from? And my answer to that always is that if you come from a good family, you can't choose between your mother and your father. They both inform you in different ways. And it's both of those things put together is who you become. So I like the story because, first of all, a lot of stories about immigrants have to do with, this traditional parent who does not understand their child, and there's always a rift and there's always a clash between them, which is a valid story and has been told many times. But now that we have lived in this country for so long, our stories have refined and they have become way more layered than they were before. And I think this movie does that for us. So that was the thing that really, really attracted me to it.
Nice. Before we proceed, I wanted to request all the attendees, so please send your questions to our panelists at slido.com using the event code #22939, #22939, please. Thank you. So Nikita, do you have professional training in Kathak or dance, and how, and you play a lead role? How did you feel when you were approached with this offer from Iram?
I was thrilled because I was trained in Kathak. I trained in Kathak for 9 years. And when I was young, it was something that my mom loved Kathak. She thought it was the most beautiful dance form. And when I was like 12 years old, I wanted to do other things. I wanted to go out and my mom was really strict with me. She really wanted me to learn it. And I'm forever thankful to her for pushing me to learn it, because little did I know that it would, come back, but also just because of how beautiful of an art form it is. But I was drawn to the script, not because it was a lead role or it wasn't a lead role, but because of the story of Dua, and where it fit in with the rest of the story. And to me, it was something different that I had not been exposed to as much. I was used to reading scripts about arranged marriage and like Faran said, clash between parents. And what I loved is how close of a relationship I had with my dad, and really what it means to be a family. And what our idea, I grew up in a massive family, and so in many ways I didn't grow up the way Dua did, but I didn't think that was important because I connected to her so strongly, even otherwise, and that's how I knew that other people would. And it has nothing to do with culture or religion, but there are so many worldly and relatable themes in this script, and truly that's what I wanted to do justice to when I read it. But it wasn't like I wasn't nervous because it was a lead and I was would be working across people that I'm fans of. But I truly just wanted to do justice to the story.
Both of you did very good. I mean, I loved your performances, Faran and Nikita. And I wanted to ask Iram, when you just started this script and now you see the product, is it what you envisioned, or through the process you sort of made few tweak changes and you're satisfied and happy? And what is the feedback you're getting?
It's a loaded question. You know, I mean, first of all, even before we move ahead, I mean, the missing giant in this entire discussion is Muhammad Qavi Khan, who's a legend from Pakistan. And I think that, you know, I could never, for example, when I think of, you know, Faran, I had been, you know, he was in my head very early on with the drafts, and he even came to a table read years ago. Nikita, I was glad to find through a casting director, but I could never in my, you know, dreams have thought that Kavi uncle would come and, you know, breathe life into Baba. To answer your question, in some ways, you know, I mean, a film is, you know, the famous thing that is written 3 times, when it's actually written, when it's then shot, when it's edited, and all of those things happened in this film. And especially independent films, you know, made in such a controlled budget, shot in 18 days, you know, you can't, and it just takes forever to make these movies. But the beautiful thing is that, you know, I remember sitting with Kavi uncle and Faran and, you know, deciding what needs to be said in Urdu, what needs to be said in English, and, you know, constantly working on things, you know, having the actors, you know, talk about the dialogues. Would they say this? You know, just the traditional stuff of collaboration. Working with my DP, because it was an independent film, all the heads of departments were finalized 2 years before we actually had all the money. So like, I had done detailed shot listing and, you know, like camera language grids with my cinematographer before we had locations. So then we would lock a location, then go back and revise, then we would do this. So much homework went into it that, in all honesty, when you get into a specialized nitty-gritty of craft, you forget about what it's going to turn out to be. You kind of just trust in the emotional truth of the moment. And I think for me, I lived the script because it was in me for so long that I was able to just kind of let go and, you know, sort of jump and know that all these guys would carry, that it was like a skydive where we were all holding hands and we just knew we would land. And so of course it's changed, right? And for me, I think the most interesting thing, and going back to who it relates to, because I didn't grow up in America. I've always been very anxious about, did I get Dua's voice right? You know, did I get it? So I would have a lot of people like read, a lot of kids who had grown up here read it. And the biggest, I think, compliment and flattery that we felt as a cast was, you know, when people who were sort of my demographics and older, who have very, like, sort of Faran's age in the film, and people, Nikita, Dua's age in the film, would basically, it was a bigger compliment for the people who'd grown up here to be like, oh my God, this is my story. And then the other thing, we had like a Native American executive producer, we had a Baptist Christian co-producer, Jewish co-producer, and everybody relates to the film, and that's why they came. And I think that because at the core of it, the film is about a family trying to reconnect. And that is true for all of us. It just so happens, and that's part of it. It's like, I'm so tired of just, you know, and that is why it was difficult to get the film made, because everybody, like the traditional Hollywood, would be like, but something should be wrong in the mosque. Oh, but you know what, like, and it's like all those things, and you're like, no, they just happen. This is a family story, and they happen to be Muslim, and they happen to be from Pakistan, you know? So that's what we're fighting against. And so it's important to just humanize and make things as specific so that they're as universal, right? So that we're not others anymore. That's a long-winded mouthful of an answer, but I hope you got something in it.
Yeah. It's talking about location, you know, I see the backdrop of Chicago and Faran as a police officer in the Chicago Police Department. But what I read was that you shot the movie in New York. So why Chicago and why New York? How you decided that this should be the location, and you went ahead with it?
So one caveat is I was born in Chicago. I wasn't raised there. But I think, to me, Chicago represents something very different from what a New York or an LA is in terms of melting pots. Chicago is closer to sort of Main Street America in some ways, right? It's like the Midwest. I felt like segregation in Chicago is just so much more visible to me. I think the bubbles are more visible than, say, in New York. And then the baggage of 9/11 with New York. I just wanted people to understand that this is a story that can happen in Main Street America. Sure, there's like a little bubble, and the bubbles happen like in LA, you can drive from Little Tokyo to Little Ethiopia, but still there is more. Chicago is just so much more intentional with the community divides. And that was the reason. New York was a better place to shoot for tax credits and just access to crew, because New York and LA are the hubs. And honestly speaking, Jackson Heights, the 174th or 74th Street in Jackson Heights is so much more how, Devon and Gerard in Toronto, Gerard is probably still like that. Devon is not like that anymore. It's now become more of a Jewish neighborhood. And so it's not the South Asian sort of, Mela chaos. And I wanted that. So New York was awesome because we would literally point the camera and we'd have hundreds of extras that fit the world without doing anything. So that's why.
That's interesting. And I agree with you. I mean, New Jersey, New York, Chicago, these are very, and I heard Houston too, but these are neighborhoods which quite reflect our society and community. So there are some audience questions coming in, and the first one is very interesting. My question is for Nikita Tewani. First of all, how are you so beautiful in everything that you do? Second, how do you go about preparing for this role? Which I think you talked about a little bit, but go ahead.
Well, I'm very flattered. Thank you. It's definitely not the case, but thank you. How did I prepare for this? Well, I like I said, I had a dance background, but I wasn't, my strength was not ballet. So from the day that I found out that I got cast in the film through the first week of shooting, I was training in ballet, because for me, it was more about how a ballerina carries herself throughout the film, that I wanted to make sure that I was exact. So that's what I was trying for. And besides that, I mean, working on the relationships was important to have an idea of what that was for me before, but once I got to set, it was like everything changed, because when I was truly just playing in the moment with everyone, especially, with everyone, it like everything that I thought I knew was out the window, and I was just being present. And what's amazing is the essence of these characters is who they actually are. And they're all such amazing people. And they were all so wonderful and supportive. Because I was nervous going into it. And they were just all so amazing and uplifting to work with. So I felt I was very spoiled in that sense. But I did work a lot with Iram beforehand too, to really chart the emotional journey of Dua. And I mean, it's so beautifully written where she starts and where she ends. But really getting into the nitty gritty of in between is what I was fortunate enough to actually work with Iram before.
And Nikita had access to our amazing choreographer who also plays her mom, Farah Yasmin Sheikh, I think close to a month before. Like the moment you were cast, you guys were patched in.
Yeah, it was amazing.
A good leading follow-up question, another one from audiences, and this is for Iram. Why did you use dance as a premise? Could it have been any other art form?
I think dance is a personal choice. My biggest passion in life has been dance, actually. And I saw one of the other films I saw of you guys, it was very emotional for me because I took a journey after college precisely. I'd never gone to India, and I traveled all across India, basically trying to understand how a Muslim girl could dance in sort of classical dance forms that have such Hindu traditions where you're, doing pranam in the beginning and, saying your with the Nataraja and whoever else you're actually devoting to. So it was very personal for me. So that's kind of why it would be dance. But in all honesty, dance is a visual form. It's a form for body movement. So it's kind of obvious it's an obvious choice for a film. If you're trying to talk about Rumi's quote and sort of dancing between lines of black and white, I don't know if you can really show that with like painting or music as viscerally. So I guess on a meta side of things, that's probably a response. But for me, it was never a question, because growing up in a Muslim community with such a taboo and hypocrisy about dance, I had to.
Good. So follow-up question, another one for you, Iram. Are there elements of your own life that reflect your film? I think you partly answered that in your previous answer. Moving on, and that your character goes through in the process of the film. Faran, you want to take this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Or can you tell us about the transformation about your character when you go through this process of the film?
Well, I think Majeed's character is someone who's divided between two cultures, for one thing. He's divided basically, you know, between two cultures, a responsibility of being a Muslim and also being an FBI agent, being a father, still grieving for his wife, still having a bit of a love interest with the character that Sheetal plays. You know, so there's a lot of unresolved, there's an unresolved soul in this. And I think as you move through the story, through trial and through pain and through difficulty and through joy, I think by the end, what I love about the movie is that not only Majeed's character, but as it was mentioned earlier, that we become a family. And that to me it's not I love stories which create more questions than give you answers. And I think that's what this movie does. It makes you think about things. And that journey is what, on a metaphysical level, is what we're all doing, trying to find an answer in our lives. And I don't know if we ever find it, but that is the quest of each person, or should be the quest of each person. So to me, the arc was not from A to Z. It's from A to infinity. You know, I think Majeed is still on that journey, and hopefully he'll keep on going in that life. So that's the way I look at it, that it's an open-ended journey, and we just happen to find a snapshot of this person in this particular moment of his life.
Wow, 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 wow. A to infinity. Kya baat hai. I guess I do want to jump in really quickly and say that, you know, across the evolution of the script, like, for example, I think as an artist, as you're growing, and as a person, as you're growing in life, you just start realizing just the amount of unknowns, right? So you're not very sure. The older you are, the more experience you have in life, the less sure you get, which is why I think I'll Meet You There is such a perfect name for this film. It used to be called Forbidden Steps, and Rumi has found funny ways to, you know, come back into my life. But just a quick anecdote to share with you guys is the very early drafts of the script, Baba was really this like very sort of evil character. And so the quest for me was always, how can I have a Baba that I fall in love with? And I think that we got to, or that a Baba that I can kind of see where he's coming from. And I think that's what we, especially in such a divided world, not just in America right now, what we're going through, if we as human beings can figure out a way to connect at some level with the person in front of us, then we've not lost humanity. Because if we don't, then we're in trouble. We're in really big trouble. And I have to say that the script sure had shades of gray, but Kavi Uncle's performance really elevated it. I mean, I'm in love with his character. I mean, I couldn't disagree with him more in terms of some of the things he says. But, yeah.
I wish he was on the call. I had so many questions for him, and such a respected actor, and so many awards and so much good work. So let's see the next question. Very interesting one, and this is for maybe Faran and Iram. Will this movie be accepted in Pakistan?
We're planning.
I think you would be surprised. I think generally people who are outside of Pakistan might think that this is like something that'll be, you know, that'll be this huge taboo. I don't think so. I think there is a hunger, and there is a need and a want for people to watch stimulating stories. And I think as much as we want to think that it'll be shunned or banned or not given the due respect, my feeling is that it will be. I think it will have an effect, because this story is not only, yes, it was set in the US, but this story is also true in Pakistan or other places. You see, that's what I love about it, that the story in the true sense of the word is a universal story. You can put whatever ethnicity, whatever geography, whatever culture, language, religion onto it, but the story in itself stands true. So I think in Pakistan, not just because, I think there is this conflict, and this is something that is going on in houses, in homes in Pakistan also. So I think it would be. That's my take on it.
But that being said, absolutely. I think inshallah we're planning on a release, and especially there's a need of content right now with the theaters being shut so much. But that being said, I will also acknowledge that there has been a great deal of censorship that artists have been facing. I have a call with my peer filmmaker Sarmat Khusert, whose film that just won in Busan last year, that was censored and banned from release because of some right-wing elements. So I think all of our countries in South Asia are going through sort of a bit of a extreme right-wing approach to policy. So we'll try our best, we'll be smart about it. If the question is, are the audiences ready? Yes, the audiences are always ready, and the audiences are always ahead of policy. So let's hope that we can figure out an intersection and make it happen.
Yeah, I think we should never underestimate the intelligence of our audience. I think sometimes we want to give them things because we think that they might not understand things. But I think if you treat them with the respect, I think it actually always pays off.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, progressive people like us, and same issue is in India, actually, which Iram said, in bigger cities, and the youth, and in both countries are open to new ideas. They want to move forward, and censorship in India is also quite becoming rigid and all that stuff. And I think it will be. I loved the movie, and I know it. We always are thinking ahead, and hopefully it will be accepted all around the world. Like Iram said, that anyone can connect to it, and Faran also said that. If you take out the elements. Any thoughts you have, Iram? You want to make one of the questions? Okay, let me give you one more question, which is. So in the movie, Dua, in the end, of course, she comes in peace with her passion and dance, and even the Abu, which is Baba, and you leave the movie with a good feeling. Anything you want to talk about that, Nikita?
What I loved is, the thing is what I loved about the film is it's such, and I said this before, it's such a slice of life that it doesn't need to end with a bow tie, and at the end of the day, it's kind of like what Faran said, that these characters are going to continue to grow and continue to change, and their storyline will continue. And to me, I love the way that it ended, because it just goes to show that there doesn't need to be a massive conflict that happens in the film and then a resolution. But these characters are learning from each other and growing with each other. And to me, that was the perfect way to end this story of their lives.
And we won't talk about the ending because a lot of people haven't seen it. But just because the film ends a certain way doesn't mean that Dua won't wake up the next day and have more conflict, or Majeed won't wake up and have conflict, exactly. Or Baba won't wake up and have conflict, right? So we as living, breathing human beings are constantly changing. Our views are constantly changing, and our relationships are constantly changing. And which is precisely why we cannot paint each other as others, because there's no absolute reality that any of us has at any moment.
And I think for me, the final lesson or the message of the story is about hope. That wherever we leave these characters, we are leaving them with this hope that these characters will keep on going in this direction. and accept their own conflicts and resolve them and all that. So I think in the end, for many movies or whatever, you always look for what the distilled message is. And in this one, for me, it's all about hope. So I think people will connect to that because it's a beautiful thing.
And the time we are going through is hope is all we have right now,
Exactly.
And
I can't tell you how heartwarming it is to finally get questions from an audience. Will you believe it? That because of what happened to us from South by, the Q&As we've had so far, we're speaking into a void. We have not had any audience reaction like questions, just the way things have been set up. So thank you to the audiences that are watching. We cannot wait to interact with you, actually see your faces. And if you love the film, please help spread the word.
To round up, I would ask maybe closing questions that first, Iram, when is the film you think it will be released? And anything last minute thought which we missed in our Q&A, which you like to tell the audience?
Well, inshallah, the film is going to be, we're just finalizing in the next few weeks the contracts, but we're looking at a Feb latest March release. So, go off, hopefully have a safe holiday season, and then we're going to be out. And before the actual sort of VOD release, we're going to look at some virtual theatricals across North America. And then hopefully, inshallah, Pakistan theatrical in person once theaters open there. I think I just want to say to the audiences that it takes a lot for us as creators. At least I can talk about myself and like other filmmakers I know who don't come from a film sort of background, or who don't have the resources that, like traditional film families do. It's such a fight from the day we put these words on a page to actually bring it to a screen. So I think for our communities, maybe we need to all just sort of step up and support, not only in investing in artists that are putting stories that we connect with, but also in actually buying these films to watch them when they come out, because your vote, it's like voting, right? I mean, if you order a film, you're voting and telling the powers that be that this film can make money because we care to watch it. So that has always been my sort of plea. And this has been a plea from, the days when uncles would say, oh, to my parents, that your daughter is wasted, she's not a doctor. To like now when their kids and grandkids are finally thinking arts are really cool, So now they call me and say, oh, can you please talk to our daughter? She wants to be a filmmaker. But the plea has not changed, which is that we need to sort of respect and support artists so that we can actually make more films. Because this is really tough, you guys. I mean, very soon we will start all making, web series and TVs. Making a feature film, even web series and TV is impossible, frankly, but making a feature film is difficult. So thank you for your support, and we look forward to sharing it with you when it comes out.
I connect with you in all dimensions. I can feel it. We all have a story. We all want to tell that story, and one day we want to make a film, and I know the challenges. Good luck to you, and really a good product, and all the best. Faran, any last minute words?
Well, I mean, just reiterating and saying what Iram had said, that as artists, our job is to tell a story, and there are many stories that we want to tell, but there comes a point which we then offer that story as a gift to the audience, and with that gift also comes a responsibility, and that responsibility is that if it somehow or the other it has touched your chords of your heart, then please tell others, because that's how we create good stories. That's not only encouragement to us, that is the interaction that we are looking for, and it's a cycle. The more we are supported, the better stories we can tell, the more varied and more beautiful stories we can tell. So that's my plea to everyone, that if it has touched you, go tell a friend or two. Tell 5 friends. Okay, let's make a promise. Everybody who loves the movie should tell at least 5 of their friends. That's all.
I'll make it 10.
10. All right. 10. Do I hear 15?
And I did want to also
and more, at least to my audience.
I did also want to say, and then maybe we can put it on the webpage and stuff for people to follow it at I'll Meet You There, the film, if you like it, because that's where we're going to do all the announcements. And I'll be harassing everybody, don't worry, when the release happens, inshallah.
Sure. Nikita, any last minute words you want to say?
Well, basically just want to reiterate everything that was already said. And also from my perspective, the thing that I related to most with Dua was this idea of loving something that isn't necessarily accepted. And if that was the story of my life, as well as many other artists of color, and to be able to have the opportunity to be in a project like this and work with these incredible people, it just goes to show that no matter what you're faced with, I mean, just keep going. And it's cheesy and it's cliche, but it's true.
Thank you, Parveen, to let us, Iram, actually, sorry, I keep coming because of your full name, but Iram, thank you very much for giving us the permission to watch your film. Good luck to all of you, Iram, Faran, Nikita, on your next venture, and stay safe, healthy. Thank you to the audience for joining the question and answers, and please, whenever the film is released, please go and support us. We need support for the independent filmmakers like Iram, so we can have more good stories from our. Thank you very much. Shubhratri, Shabba Khair, Shubh Prabhat in India. Good morning. Thank you all, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank
Stay
you so
safe.
much for showing us.
Thank you.
Thank you.